Hello, welcome to my channel. Lately, there was an increase in strikes by the Russian armed forces on production facilities owned by foreign companies in Ukraine. These targets include the Bayraktar drone production manufacturing plant in Kiev, which is linked to the Erdogan family. The facilities of American corporation Flex in Mukachevo. Uh, there were a number of strikes at the facilities, production facilities owned by the German business and investors. And recently there was a strike at the facility, a site in Kiev, located next to the British Council building. According to Russian and some unofficial Ukrainian resources, information resources in the internet, the struck building was used near the British Council building, was used as a military center or production, some military industrial production center, or even there was some information that there was some Ukrainian or British intelligence center. Strikes were also carried out at a number of facilities and buildings owned by other EU countries, members of NATO. It is noteworthy that these strikes occurred and increased after the meeting between Trump and Putin in Alaska. And during this meeting, there were some secret agreements reached that remain secret till now. However, despite of the veil of secrecy, the consequences and the events that followed that meeting, certain conclusions can be drawn. And this is what I'd like to discuss today. What is behind these strikes? In Russia and in EU, in the United States, and even India or Arab world mass media, there were reports or analytical articles that that Russia has decided to show that it is ready to act more harshly against European countries. That war in Ukraine is spreading into Europe, and that Russia is ready to start striking facilities in European countries on their territory if they are connected to weapons production or military support of Ukraine. However, I would like to focus on one of the reasons, and from my point of view, that is the main one and the real one. And this is a message to foreign and Ukrainian businesses. Investing in Ukraine is not advisable. There is no such opportunity, and there will be no such opportunity in future as long as the war continues. Moscow is demonstrating that the hopes of Ukrainians and Europeans and even some part of American businesses, that investment in Ukraine, the investment is possible if these investments are backed by solid political cover, support, or political guarantees. And also the hopes that such investment will be possible in forthcoming years if Moscow is forced or persuaded to agree to a temporary ceasefire or cessation of hostilities. Moscow wants to tell that all these hopes are all in vain. Moscow is showing that Ukraine cannot be developed now or in future, cannot be rebuilt under conditions of confrontation with Russia, even in the absence of active combat. It cannot be rebuilt, or the investment, you can't make investment if the threat of the resumption remains, resumption of conflict. Because all investments will be destroyed, will be lost as soon as the conflict resumes. There is one more point important from my point of view. This is the clear signal not only from Moscow, but also from Washington. In Alaska, Trump and Putin agreed that the war in Ukraine would be ended. The peace would be established. The war must end. Trump has even created the investment fund that will manage investments in Ukraine. And it will start operating actively. It is already operating, but it will start operating actively after the war. And in Alaska, it was discussed with Putin. And it was agreed that the Russian companies will cooperate with the American fund in Ukraine. A signal by these strikes was sent to Zelensky and Europeans, Europe. Stop talking about a temporary truce. The war must be stopped, ceased, finished. Ukraine cannot be anti-Russia. Ukraine as an anti-Russia has no perspectives of economic development, of rebuilding. If you continue the war, this is the message of Trump and Putin, you must understand that this is the war, your war is only for ideas, ideals, ideologies, or out of hatred, but not for economic or business interests, which cannot be protected. Moscow and Washington are telling Europe and Turkey, you decide. Either you spend your money and resources in a war for ideas, ideals, ideologies, principles, ideological principles, nationalism, or say, for example, Western democracy, as it was in 20th century and before, earlier, when the war were fought for different ideologies, including Western democracy, socialism, communism, fascism in Germany and Italy. So all these wars, ideological wars, were under the old world order, old system of international relations. Now the system is changed, is being changed. And not only by the United States, Russia, but also by China, India, BRICS, most of the BRICS countries. And then in this case, Europe, and this is the message, should switch to new principles of the new economic, new world order. And these principles are the principles of transnational corporations. Let's put it, I am calling this transnational corporations, but because it is close to these principles. Though maybe there will be some new name given by Xi Jinping or Putin or Trump. And if you decide to join this new world order and to switch to new principles, you are to sign or not to sign, but you are to find and enter into cartel agreement. with Russia and with the United States, because these two superpowers, they are the most influential in Ukraine, and they have biggest interest in Ukraine. Trump and the United States have more business and economic interests, plus political, but Russia has political, civilizational interests, and of course, economic interests, because a lot of facilities and properties are still owned by Russians. Sometimes it is funny, but I'm looking at on Russian TV some politicians who speak about Ukraine against Zelensky, but I know that they have a lot of properties in Ukraine. So these strikes came as a clear manifestation of the new policy of Trump and Putin. And this policy is based on principles of transnational corporations that I already wrote and discussed in my articles and discussed in my previous video. Thank you for watching video. Hope to see you, and please put your likes and subscribe. We'll meet. I think we'll discuss in the near future. We'll discuss what is going on now in Beijing, in China, and about the Big Four. Thank you. Bye.